Hi, this is Brad Stroik of Deep Freeze Ice Fishing, and today I'm going to go over some important distances to keep in mind while you're using the BlueTipz transmitters and receiver. So here we go. If we are strictly using our phone with the transmitter, we can expect a distance of 50 yards if our phone is at a height of 3 feet. Now, if we can increase this height here of 3 feet, this is a pretty conservative height. So if we can get that to 5 feet, to 6 feet, to 7 feet, depending on where you can get it in your shack and still as best line of sight as possible, we'll see this 50-yard distance increase up to 100 yards, up to 150, up to the 200-yard mark. The higher we can get that phone and keep it line of sight, the better. The next distance I'd like to talk about is the distance from the transmitter to the receiver. Now this is the instance where you would not be using your smartphone at all. So the receiver is outside your shack or in the windowsill or whatever. We will see a distance of 75 yards from that transmitter to the receiver if the receiver is mounted at a height of about 6 feet. Again here, if we increase this distance or this height from 6 feet to 8 feet to 10 feet high, we can see this go from 75 to 150 up to the 200-yard mark. Higher here, the better. And the same goes for your transmitter actually mounted on the tip-up flag as well. The higher we can get that transmitter mounted, the better. The last distance we'll talk about is the distance from your receiver to your smartphone. Now this would be the instance where you're using the transmitter to the receiver to your phone. So we see 150 yards from the receiver to your sleeping phone when your phone's at a height of about 4 feet. In this instance, the receiver was mounted at a height of about 6 feet. So again, if we can increase this height here of the receiver and this height of the phone, you can see this distance really start to go up here. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean if we're using all three devices that we need to have the receiver right by the shack. That would be the case if all of our tip-ups were equally spread around. If we wanted to one night fish a hump that we weren't fishing the other night, and it's kind of off to one side of the shack, then you can position your receiver sort of in the middle of those two, just so you can optimize your distance there. But if everything is equally spread out, then we would definitely want the receiver mounted somewhere very close to the shack. And again, keep in mind here, I know that some of these distances do go over certain states' regulations for tip-ups, so just keep in mind those distances as well, because in some cases we can't even be over 100 yards from the get-go. So just keep those in mind as well. So again, the big takeaway from this, I guess, is to just use these as general guidelines. And again, the higher we can mount any device in this equation, we have the transmitter, we have the receiver, which is optional, and then we also have your smartphone, which could be optional as well if you have the receiver. But any of those three devices, get them mounted as high as possible, and then as we recommended before, when you have everything set up in its final position, just go and tip up the furthest away tip up and make sure that you are getting a successful transmission to your phone or to the receiver. Then you can be confident that when a tip-up actually goes up, that you will get that notification. And another thing to note is that when we do get a notification to our receiver, that receiver will beep and blink for 15 seconds, and then it will shut off. So if you just tip up your tip-up very quickly for a second or two and tip it back down, that receiver will continue to blink and beep for 15 seconds. So just keep that in mind. And as always, any questions, don't be afraid to email me, brad@deepfreezefishing.com, and I will try and get all of your questions answered as soon as possible because I want these products to work for you guys. It's a great product. If you know some of the simple guidelines to follow, you will have much better luck with it. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out on the ice, and good luck.